Heavy emotions today as people grapple with the news that Suzanne Morphew's body has been found.
The mother of two went missing in May of 2020, and her remains were discovered Friday in a shallow grave near the town of Moffett, less than 50 miles from where she was last seen. Suzanne lived near Salida, and people there and in the surrounding communities are mourning her loss.
And while not everyone, of course, knew her personally, they did know her story. We talked to a convenience store owner in Poncha Springs who put up this banner in her honor.
It's not over, justice has not been served. It's somebody that doesn't have a voice that I feel like this community desires to be her voice, to lift her up.
Hall and others hope the discovery of Suzanne's remains is the piece of the puzzle needed to get the answers that everybody is looking for. And tonight, questions have arisen in the death investigation of Suzanne Morphew.
And Chief Investigative Reporter Tony Kowaleski explains what happens next in this fight for justice.
A lot has developed in the past 24 to 36 hours, leading many of us to ask, what is next? When is it reasonable to expect prosecutors to announce an arrest? That's why we went to a former county sheriff, a national expert on cold cases, to get an idea of what we can expect in the coming days and weeks.
I think in this case, this is no longer a sprint. This is a marathon.
Tony Spurlock knows the challenges now facing investigators and prosecutors.
I don't think law enforcement at this point needs to be announcing who their suspect is. I think that they have a suspect. I don't think that they need to be announcing anything at this point because now it's a new investigation. Now they can really start from point A again and work their way through it.
Specifically, we talked to the former sheriff about the significance of locating Suzanne's remains in an unidentified spot in Saguache County.
Well, it's huge because prosecution, they always like to have that evidence, that body of evidence available to them. But from the police investigations perspective, tremendous amount of evidence can be gleaned from that scene and from the autopsy report.
And now the attention turns to whodunit. Investigators have new evidence, but 3.5 years have passed since Suzanne Morphew disappeared.
Somebody out there did this. How uncomfortable would you be if it was you and they found that body?
Oh, I think the suspect thought that they were home scot-free because no one had located her body. And it was in such a significant different location from where she was last seen. So I think that at this point right now, the suspect has got to be worried.
What's your best guess on when we'll have an announcement of an arrest?
My guess is that you probably won't have any information for a couple of months. They're going to want to use every piece of technology and expertise that they have available to them. I would say you're not going to hear anything significant, in my opinion, probably for at least 2 months.
So bottom line takeaway, finding those remains opens a lot of doors for prosecutors and investigators, but we are told to hold tight. It is going to be a marathon and not a sprint. I'm Chief Investigative Reporter Tony Kowaleski.
And Suzanne's husband, Barry Morphew, was initially charged with her murder. And just before he was to go to trial, prosecutors dropped their case against him. And his attorney sent us a statement today saying, quote, what appears to be the overriding focus is a finger pointing right back where it started 3.5 years ago. A movement to blindly re-accuse Barry for Suzanne's death. And it goes on to say, when law enforcement focuses in on one person and refuses to review evidence objectively and fairly, it is a disservice to the community and creates exactly what has come to light, years of unsolved murders. You can follow our continuing coverage of the Suzanne Morphew case online. We have details of the most recent developments, a timeline of events, and links to former interviews with family members, and you'll find it on Denver7.com.